not sure we're going to be able to contain it.
You had to transfer the device?
Yes, sir. And we've learned more.
I think I've translated enough of the writings to figure out its purpose.
It's broadcasting a wave of energy particles. Now, while we're not exactly sure what these particles are made of, we think they're somehow triggering an ability to see these creatures. Hopefully, only those exposed to these particles will develop this second sight.
And none of the ciphers that we have fit perfectly, but here as I can understand, the device is meant to allow us to observe beings that exist in a dimension parallel.
We think the energy particles the device is emitting create a kind of portal through the world, giving anyone who's been exposed to them the ability to see into this parallel dimension.
We can't contain them because they aren't actually human.
In a matter of speaking. I mean, they do exist, just not in a way that allows us to actually interact with them.
And if I'm right, they didn't follow us to the gate.
Where did they come from?
The ones we're seeing are from Earth. I mean, theoretically, these creatures could exist anywhere. We've just been previously unaware.
What is your threat assessment, Major?
Well, I can't say for sure, sir, but with regards to the creatures, no. I mean, if they only exist in their dimension, they can't really do anything to us.
As far as I can tell, there's no physiological interaction beyond our ability to see them.
However, while the personnel at this facility might be able to deal with seeing interdimensional beings,
If the effect of this spreads to the general public, we can have a massive disaster on our hands. People just aren't used to seeing unusual things the way we are. And we can't control when or where a sighting might occur.
I mean, imagine on a small scale, a surgeon doing delicate surgery and he's distracted.
Or an air traffic control.
Even something as simple as driving a car. I mean, people might eventually be able to deal with it, but not before it turns the world upside down.
And not to mention the potential exposure of the Stargate program to explain the situation.
shut off that pump.
We've tried, sir.
Find a way.
Daniel, what is it?
I'm an ancient.
What?
Well, not me, but the others like me. They're the ancients.
This is written in one of the oldest dialects, man.
I mean, I always suspected, but I never really knew for sure.
What does it say?
It says the ancients evolved from a race of humans who lived long before us. That they were wiped out by a plague that was sweeping across the galaxy, and many learned to ascend, and the rest died out. They're gone.
Where?
I'll be back. Don't use that tablet. It talks about a lost city that's more valuable than
Daniel.
He says if we do not grant them free passage, he will destroy the island.
He will give you the or I will destroy the weakness.
Yes, my lord.
You won't touch evidence.
How will you stop me?
I can. I will. One more person down there, sorry.
You can do nothing but stand there and utter empty threats. Because I know what you are.
You know what I am. You know very well I can wipe you from existence.
I know who you are, Captain Johnson. But you don't know who I am. Power above the surface. You can try to stop them if you choose.
What makes you think I won't?
Your words mean nothing.
I never thought the sunlight was over. It was taking a break from us.
You're gonna find a lost city of
Sometimes the
ancients.
clouds block the best
Lost
of your
city?
heart.
Daniel found a tablet.
We were waiting on some sweet melody.
take advantage of the bonus.
You know where it is?
No, but I'll help you find it. Jay, nothing will happen without you. The most important thing right now is for you to get out of here with that tablet.
They're not attacking because they fear me.
Maybe I'll tell them you don't have the eye. And they can beat you if they strike now.
Do you know that for a fact?
Maybe I'll deliver the eye of Ra to you. If you give me your word, you won't harm the people of Abydos. Ever. Promise I'll hold you to no matter what.
By the way, he's still very powerful.
Explains his mastery of ancient technology.
Oh, Jack. The others are the ancients. Original creators of the Stargates. And Velen.
No. Very